Good morning, children, and welcome to Friday's assembly. I hope you've had a really good first week in school. It's certainly been enjoyable having you back. I'm seeing lots of smiling faces around school, children playing together, and getting on with your work as well. And it's been lovely to give out a number of Head Teachers Awards, and I look forward to giving out a lot more next week, which I'll share in assembly on Wednesday. Now, this morning's assembly. Last week I talked to you about Mrs. Plumpton. I read you that story. Do you remember the old lady? And she was stranded on a moor, and it was a group of unlikely young people who were into rap music who stopped and helped her. Well, today's assembly is kind of linked to that theme, and it's about making judgments before we've had a chance to think about it. Now, I would like to start with some pictures. I don't have an assembly performer today. Hopefully for the next assembly we will. But I'd like you to look at these images. Now you've got to look at them really, really carefully and concentrate. Okay, so image one. I'd like you to look at it really, really carefully and spot the black dots. See if you can count them. Okay, just going to go back to full screen. Now, put your hand up if you could see black dots. Okay, I certainly could see some black dots. Were there black dots? No, actually, there weren't any black dots at all. It is an optical illusion. Okay, so let's have a look at another one. I'm going to show you another image. Okay, now look at this very, very carefully. Can you see an old woman or a young woman? Look very carefully, concentrate. Okay, put your hand up if you can see an old woman. Okay, yeah, I agree. Put your hand up if you can see a young woman with flowing hair. I agree. Okay, put your hand up if you could see both an old woman and a young woman. Okay, I agree with you. Actually, in that image, it's very clever. You can see an old woman and a young woman. If you can't see both, I'm just going to leave it there. Have a look at it very, very closely. See if you can pick out both. Kind of depends which angle you look at it from. Okay, very clever. Right, I'm going to show you another image. Image 3. Is it moving? Concentrate really carefully. Stare at it. Okay, now look up. Let's go back to full screen. Put your hand up if you could see it moving. I certainly could. Put your hand up if you couldn't see it moving. Okay, well, there's not a right or a wrong answer here, but actually the picture was stationary. It certainly wasn't moving. It's an optical illusion. Those of you who were looking at it and thought it was moving, it's a mixture of the colours and the shapes that make it appear as if it is moving. Okay, we're going to go back and we're going to look at another one. Right. This time, really concentrate. Is this one moving? Okay, so I'm not going to ask you for hands up this time, but this one isn't moving either. It's just an optical illusion if you felt it was moving. I hope it showed up clearly enough on the screen in your classroom. Now, this last one, I've got several questions to ask you. Okay, I'd like you to look at it very, very, very carefully. And what colour are the dots? Look at it carefully. What colour are the dots? Okay, I think the dots appear to be pink. However, what I'd like you to do now is stare at that black cross in the middle. Stare intently, really closely at that black cross in the middle. What happens to the dots? Okay, just going to go back to full screen. Would you like to share with your teacher? Perhaps your teacher could ask some of you to explain what happens when you stare at that cross. What happens to the dots? What can you see? I'll just give you a moment to discuss. Okay, I think you'll find the dots go green now, or you can see a green dot moving around. Now, one more question with that last image. I'm going to put it back up. Stare really, really intently at that black cross in the middle. What happens? Don't move your eyes away. Keep staring. What happens to the dots? Okay, once again, I'll just give you a moment to explain. Your teacher perhaps can get somebody to explain. Okay, I think if you were the same as me, the pink dots begin to disappear and you can just see the green there. So all of these are optical illusions. Our brain is playing tricks on us. Now you might think, why on earth is he showing us this? Yes, it's very clever, but what is the reason? Well, there is a reason, children. Now often, we as human beings are very, very quick to make judgments. We look at something or we look at somebody and we make a judgment. As teachers, we're often guilty of this. You know, we see a situation, perhaps in the playground, we walk into a classroom, something's happened, we make a judgment. I'm sure your parents do it at home. All of you do this. When you meet a new person, you very, very quickly make a judgment, whether you do it consciously or without realizing it, subconsciously. We do it. And this is something we need to be really, really careful about. If we think about our story last week, we had Mrs. Plumpton. And she had the van that went past from a company that she had bought things from. She thought, oh, they'll stop, they'll help me. But they didn't. Then there was a family. Oh, a family are bound to stop and help me. They didn't. Then there were those young people with the rap music blasting out in the car. Surprisingly, they stopped. So we make judgments about people all of the time, and we need to be careful about doing that, judging situations. So what I'd like to do now is I'd like to read you a story linked to this theme. Okay, so this is about a new teacher. Now, you go to a small school, so you generally know your teachers pretty well. If you go to a bigger school, you perhaps don't know your teacher so well, or it could be a case that your teacher leaves mid-year and you get another teacher. Okay, you don't know what they're like, but listen to this story. So, I'm not going to like her, insisted Andrew as he slammed the front door and marched down the front path towards the gate. She visited our class before the Christmas holidays and she didn't smile once. I know I'm not going to like her. You've got to give her a chance, said Chloe, Andrew's older sister, although secretly she also thought that the new teacher had looked very fierce and severe. You've only seen her once and she didn't even speak to you. I want Mrs. Hughes back, moaned Andrew. I like Mrs. Hughes, and I don't see why she had to leave. You know why she had to leave, said Chloe wearily. She's having a baby, isn't she? Besides, she'll be coming back after the summer holiday. That's no good, yelled Andrew, waving his hands in the air. I won't be in her class after the summer holiday, will I? Knowing my luck, that new dragon will probably move up to the next class with me. It was no use. Whatever Chloe said would have no effect on her brother. He had made up his mind that he was not going to like his new teacher, and nothing was going to change it. Chloe gave a resigned sigh, put her hands in her pockets, and trudged through the gate after Andrew, who had already set off along the road, muttering loudly to himself about how unfair it was having this new teacher. The 9 o'clock bell rang, and all the children stood still in the playground. Mr. Hanson, the duty teacher, blew his whistle, and the children moved to their lines. She was there, waiting at the front of the line, her hands on her hips, her nose in the air, like a terrifying sergeant major. Hurry up, children, snapped Miss Snipe. 2 straight lines and no talking whatsoever. Andrew frowned and took his position behind Frederick Fitton, a large boy who hid him from view. Stand up straight, that boy, commanded the teacher. To his horror, Andrew realised that Miss Snipe was referring to him. He stiffened like a statue and stared straight ahead. No one dared to utter a sound. Excuse me. As they filed silently past the dreaded Miss Snipe and through the school entrance. I like well-mannered children who work hard, explained Miss Snipe after school assembly. If you behave well and do your best, we'll get on just fine. If not, there could be problems. To be fair, Andrew found the first lesson quite interesting. It was literacy, and Miss Snipe was talking about good story openings. Andrew liked story openings. He liked writing stories. And soon he was answering questions with enthusiasm. He was particularly pleased when Miss Snipe read out the opening to Andrew's favourite Harry Potter book. He hadn't expected Miss Snipe to like Harry Potter. She didn't look like the type of person who would like Harry Potter. The children were set to work out their own openings to a choice of story titles. Andrew was even more pleased when at the end of the lesson, Miss Snipe chose him to read out one of his story openings. He chose his opening for Alien Landing and read with great expression. Oh, what an excellent opening, enthused Miss Snipe, and Andrew's face blushed with pride. Perhaps the new teacher wasn't going to be so bad after all. At the end of the day, Andrew waited at the school gates for Chloe, his sister. She skipped along the path and joined him for the short walk home. Well, how was the dragon? Asked Chloe, fearing the worst. Well, she was great, replied Andrew cheerfully. Not a dragon at all. I've had a really good day. Chloe stopped in surprise and stared at her younger brother. After all that fuss, she said, smiling, and to think you were in such a bad mood this morning. Bad mood? Questioned Andrew. I think you've made a mistake there, Chloe. I wasn't in a bad mood. I suppose it just goes to show that appearances can be deceptive. You know, Chloe, continued Andrew seriously, you really must learn not to judge people by the way they look. You mustn't judge them by first impressions. And he walked off, leaving his sister standing on the pavement with her mouth wide open in amazement. Okay, perhaps you've been in that situation with your teacher. You were slightly concerned about coming back to school, and then actually it turned out to be really good. Perhaps some of you had that experience this year now, and that's not just about teachers, but that is about life, and it's very, very easy to make judgments very, very quickly about people. So what I say to you after today's assembly, because these assemblies usually have some kind of message or purpose, is let's try not to make those judgments. Let's try to be open-minded. Let people create an impression and then we make a judgment. Let's not judge them straight away. Also, we need to be tolerant of those with different views or beliefs. Not everybody thinks in the same way. Not everybody thinks in the same way as me. So we have to be tolerant and respect other people's opinions. Okay, now I hope you enjoyed the story. Hope you enjoyed the optical illusions. They're quite clever. Now, my last assembly, we talked about filling buckets, and I hope you're still filling buckets. I know some people have been coming up to me, which is lovely. But remember, think about how you can help others out, how you can make others feel good. Now, I also said it would be really nice if we had some happy stones, and I've got 2 absolutely fantastic happy stones here produced by Nancy. So Nancy, really, really well done. Absolutely lovely. And I've got this one here. Okay, perhaps these came from Broadstairs Beach, where Nancy goes a lot. But what I would really like you to do is, if we had more of these, sorry, I've got that one the wrong way around. So if we can have more of these. Now, Mrs. Pruden and Mrs. W are going to put up a display about filling buckets in the front entrance, and we would like to have a happy stone snail trail in front of that. So if you could paint those and bring those in, that would be absolutely lovely. So perhaps that's something you could do over the weekend or over the next week. So I would like to end today's assembly with our new head pupils, Noah and Naomi, who are going to read the school prayer for us. So can I ask you to put your hands together and let's think about these words as they are read for the first time this year. It talks about our planet, looking after the environment, thinking about each other. So listen to the words carefully.
Dear God, we thank you and praise you for our natural world in which we live in. Please help us not to take it for granted, but to appreciate and look after it. We thank you for our health, abilities, talents, and the fun we have. Help us not to be selfish, but to look after others in our world who may be homeless, hungry, or ill. We thank you for our families and friends, our teachers who all help us in school. We ask you that you will journey with us throughout our lives, and that we will know that you are always with us. Amen.
Thank you very much, children. Very nicely read, and I'm sure you will do a very good job, as will all of the Year Sixes, with their responsibilities this term. So I hope everybody has a really enjoyable day today. Work hard in school. It's been a great week, and I hope you have a very nice weekend. Thank you very much.